Hello, everybody, and welcome to the United Stand. I hope you're doing really well. We're joined by Robbie from AFTV today, and we've got a big announcement for you as well. We're going to talk about transfers, of course, and how, you know, Sancho for United, Partey for Arsenal may not happen for another year because of some of the things that have been going on, discussed over the last 24 hours in relation to how can you pay for players when you are asking your own players to take a pay cut. But we'll talk about that in a minute because we've got Robbie on for a bigger reason than this, and that is to do with a big announcement, Robbie. And being as you're the guest, and I'm going to be on AFTV at some point, but I'll give you the floor to announce what we're doing this Saturday.
All right, Will, thanks for having me on. This Saturday, we're doing a big initiative to help to raise money for the NHS. We're teaming up with you, Mark, and your channel, United Stand. And we're going to be doing a 24-hour fundraiser, which is going to run over the 2 channels. So it'll be like 3 hours on AFTV, then 3 hours on United Stand, and vice versa. We're going to start it off on Saturday from 12 till 3. Then you take it over, and then you guys are going to finish it off on Sunday, running right up till 12. So really looking forward to it. We're going to have loads of guests coming on. From loads of different football clubs. You know, it's not just an Arsenal or Man United thing. Everybody's going to be represented. And yeah, we're just going to have a lot of fun and try and raise as much money as we can for the NHS. They've been doing such a fantastic job, you know, under horrible circumstances, saving lives. I mean, you know, funny enough, like my dad who passed away recently, but he was in hospital up in Manchester, even just before this coronavirus thing hit. And even then I was like, wow, the job that these guys do, but what they're having to go through now is unbelievable. And, you know, I really want to, you know, and we came together, Mark, and we said, let's show our support for them. So we're putting this thing together, and all the money that we raise off of all the videos that we do on the day, all of that's going to go to the NHS. And then we're going to have a Just Giving page where you can donate. You can donate through super chats. And yeah, and we'll be sort of hopping onto each other's channels as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I think this is going to be a great thing where the football fans can really give back to, you know, these fabulous people that are saving our lives every day.
Football fans for the NHS. That's the tagline that we're using. There is a Just Giving page. I've put the link in the video description already. So if people want to check it out and they want to start contributing, that's there. As Robbie said, yeah, we're going to, with lots planned. I mean, we haven't even finalised what the shows are going to be, but we know one of them will be the 9 o'clock slot on the United Stand will be AFTV versus United Stand quiz night. So we definitely know that's going to happen. And loads more. How do I know
those questions ain't going to be rigged in your favour?
I lost last weekend. I didn't win.
I'm useless. You know what? We do a quiz every day on our channel, yeah. But actually, I'm good at putting the questions together, but I'm not great at answering when I'm put on the spot. But no, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be brilliant. And yeah, I think this is going to be, for the football fans to give back, it's going to be amazing. You know, I mean, we've seen some of the players in the Premier League, what they've done, which I think was fantastic. Now it's the fans' turn. So yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, I think, look, we did one last year for Marie Curie Cancer, and everyone knows how the Just Giving page works. We did 24 hours before. So United Standers, I know you're going to get behind it. And as I said, as Robbie said, we'll be flicking between every 3 hours. We'll go AFTV, United Stand. There'll be crossover stuff. Football fans for the NHS, really, really, really massive, and a real big opportunity for fan channels and fans of football, again, to show this is our sport and this is what we can do. The footballers have had their say, and that's fantastic. But now it's time for the fans to have their say. So really, really big cause. Can't wait for that. Links in the video description if you want to check that out. And of course, on Saturday, be here and be part of it. But we've got Robbie on, so we'll move into the football. I was just talking about this before we came on air. So transfers this summer: United, Sancho, Partey, maybe for you. We'll talk about that in more depth in a moment. But this story I was reading last night about transfers, and are fans getting ahead of themselves that, yeah, we're going to do this, or it might not be quite the same, but we'll still do this business. When you've got, with Arsenal specifically and other clubs, they're trying, or they've tried to get players to take a pay cut. I think they're looking at other ways of doing that now. But in a general football sense, like United as well, do you think the transfer window can happen? Do you think Sancho can come to United? Do you think Partey could go to Arsenal when you're asking people to take a pay cut So basically, I could say to you, Robbie, take a 50% pay cut, and then I'm going to sign old Chris Payak from Redmen TV in the summer and use that money for that. So it's like it could cause issues for a lot of clubs.
That'd be fun, Chris Payak while doing AFTV. No, yeah, I agree with you. I've been saying this. Listen, right from the start of this thing, I've been saying that how are all these big transfers that everybody's talking about going to happen? Because the money's not going to be there. And like you said now, that with all this stuff about pay cuts, you're right. You know, how can you tell a player to take, Arsenal, they're talking to the players and saying, can you take a pay cut of, if you don't get into the Champions League, 12.5%, if you only make the Europa League, a 7.5% pay cut, and if you don't make none of them, then even more. And the players have rejected that, by the way. But how can you ask players to take pay cuts or pay deferrals, which I'm hearing that Arsenal players might do? How can you ask them to do those things when, you, like you said, you go out and you know, in Arsenal's case, maybe get a Partey, or we've been linked today with Coutinho for 75 million. I can't see none of those things happening. I think it's going to be the lowest transfer window you've ever seen. And I can see, if anything, more loan deals being done. And I just don't think it would go down great, even if you take in a player on loan and the wages are high. You know, the fans are going to be like, especially to begin with, they're going to be like, well, hold on a minute. With all that everybody's going through, why are you paying him 150 grand a week? And I was even doing a show the other night, and obviously the big one for Arsenal at the moment is whether or not, you know, Aubameyang will stay. And I was looking on it, sort of digging deep down into it, and I was saying, well, he might stay. One of the reasons why is because he might not have nowhere to go, because who's going to have any money to buy him? You know, even the normal suspects like, you know, your Bayern Munich and Real Madrid, they ain't really got no money. Spain's going through a horrible crisis, just like us. You know, they're already, Real Madrid are saying, well, we're going to keep hold of Jovic and people like that, who normally I think they would have sold. So I don't think that money's going to be there. I agree with you 100%. And I can see a lot of players staying put. And also you've got to look on it from a player's point of view. They've got to be thinking about job security as well at the moment. You know, if they've got a year, 2 years left on their deal, they might be saying, well, you know what? I'm not in a hurry to move. It's too uncertain at the moment. So, yeah, I really do think there's not going to be a lot of movement at all in the transfer window. I mean, I'd be surprised if Sancho went to Manchester United. I really would.
I'm just having a look here. There's some sort of breaking news around United and Jack Grealish about him coming to United. I mean, look, it's not breaking news. I spoke about Grealish last night. United won't sign Grealish until at least the season's over, because there's too much uncertainty about Villa being relegated, his fee, etc. But I did find it interesting. But the only thing I would say, United said at the end of March that they're not going to ask their players to take any pay cut. And I think for United fans, that is the hope. If you want a Sancho like I do, that if we don't ask players to take a pay cut, then maybe we will be one of the stronger clubs coming out of this. But certainly from an Arsenal point of view, when they've asked their players to take a pay cut, it doesn't bode well that you're then going to go and spend money. And also, let's not forget, all right, United might be in a strong position to sign Sancho, but let's remember who our owners are. They don't like to spend loads of money. So they've got the perfect opportunity to do it. I think we will sign Sancho, but I do think that that it's definitely a consideration that all football fans need to take into account. And you could get a scenario where an Aubameyang does become a possibility for any club that's got a bit of money, the PSG or the Man City or anything like that. They're the clubs that could benefit from this. These clubs that, and I hope United are going to be one of those clubs, but you know, maybe we won't. But it doesn't look like you are going to be one.
No, we're not going to be one. I mean, the owners of the club, the directors that have come out today and said they're taking a pay cut. They are taking a pay cut. So that shows you, and they've actually said this is one of the most challenging times in the club's history, you know, regarding finances. So I don't expect Arsenal to be spending a lot. Will they? You know, I've sort of suspected this all along, that they'd be probably willing to let Aubameyang go because they get the money in. But the thing is about it, why I say how Aubameyang might stay put, is that a lot of the clubs that, all right, they might have the money to do it, but they've got players in those positions. So, you know, whereas under normal circumstances, they might have got an extra player in, or they might have said, you know, I just can't see them do it. I mean, Man United, for instance, you've got Alexis coming back. You've got Martial, you've got Rashford, you've got Greenwood. If you are going to spend a limited amount of money, you're not going to spend it in that area. That's what I think. That's when I looked at United. The club I think would be most likely maybe to go and get an Aubameyang might be, say, a Chelsea, because they're so short in the attacking third. You know, I mean, they only really got Tammy Abraham and Giroud who might be leaving. But I honestly think that apart from United are a unique club in that they generate so much money, but even United are going to be taking a massive hit right now, because even the other day, you know, you look at Arsenal, they generate lots of money through shirt sales and stuff like that. The shops are closed. And even the shirts, now we're coming towards the end of the season. What's going to happen with the new kits? We'd normally be sorting to get down into that period of the season now when you see leaks of the new kit come out and everyone's excited about buying the new kit. If a new kit comes out at the end of May, who's buying it? Nobody at the moment. You know what I mean? So everything's going to be in a right mess until we get football back playing. I just can't see, you know, I think the transfer business is going to be so low this season. It's unbelievable.
I think you're right. I think, I mean, it's interesting what Solskjaer said last week in his interview about United. Will still be looking at the players they're looking for, and maybe they will be able to exploit. It's talks like we've got money, but yeah, I think the moral issue is going to be a problem as well. You know, if you start splashing out money and other people are struggling, it's a bit like, you know, it's a bit like the bloke next door loses his job, he's going to lose his house, and the rich guy next door's pop round and goes, yeah, I'll give you a tenner for your Ferrari and everything. It's like, morally, we don't know what world we're going to be operating in, but I do think it opens up quite interesting debate, and I agree. I think maybe so just on that, I mean, Thomas Partey is a player that we would like at United, but we've never been linked to him. I'm sure you saw the news last night about Arsenal have had a £50 million bid accepted and all that.
£50 million on the table.
Yeah. A load of nonsense then? You're not expecting old Thomas Partey?
I don't think so, no. Again, you see, the only way it could happen, I suppose, right, because I suppose the other thing you've got to factor in is if we sell players. So the one that I was looking at is that maybe if they sold Torreira, because for some reason, I rate Torreira, but for some reason, he doesn't seem to play week in, week out. So there were rumours that he was a bit unhappy at Arsenal and wanted to go back to Italy. You know, hasn't really been able to assimilate to London. If he did go back to Italy and he'd command a good fee because he's still very young, then possibly they could get a Partey if they still have to top it up, but it would be possibly doable then. But if not, I can't see how that's going to happen, because, as I said, you've got directors at Arsenal at the moment taking a pay cut and talking about how this is the most challenging period in our history. So where are they going to get the money to make these signings? And as I said, even the usual suspects that normally make all the big signings, you're not really hearing them coming out, Barcelona's and that. You're hearing rumours around, but I just think that there's going to be a lot of clubs holding on to players. I mean, the position that you guys are in is good, is better than other clubs, because I think there's going to be a lot of clubs willing to sell big earning players, or willing to sell players that would command a big fee because they could do with that money to solve other problems.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, but also, I mean, the transfer window, and we'll come on to this next, if football was to come back in July, and then it'll be a very short summer break before they start the next season, you know, how do you do transfers anyway? I think it's going to, if football comes back, which is interesting, because there was a BBC poll today asking fans about, you know, whether they should void the season, come back whenever it takes. And there was a few other options, but 35% of people voted just to void the season. And I think 29% voted to bring the season back no matter when it is, even if it's Christmas, you've got to finish the season. We spoke about this a couple of when you were on last a couple of weeks ago. Have you, as an Arsenal fan, I suppose Arsenal fans, doesn't really matter whether we come back or not, because you could get Champions League football the other way. Are you? Do you want to see it back? Are you still thinking we won't? It's still very difficult, even weeks later, and I think it's going to be harder either.
I'd like to see it come back. And my original suggestion was, because I've always thought that when I saw these things, April, it's going to take ages for the season to come back. But my thing was we could still play the season even down in August. You know, I think behind closed doors and play it over a short period, you know, just cram all the games into, say, a month, 6 weeks, take a break in September, and then start again in October. I mean, look how many games we play around the Christmas time. I mean, it is doable. It's a way of getting the season completed. It's exceptional circumstances. So for me, I would definitely be looking to try and complete the season. And I think it'd be a good feel-good factor for everybody to see football back. I mean, I miss it so much, you know. There's only so many old games you can watch and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I'd really like to see. I remember if the season returns back, I mean, everyone's all right. Liverpool will more or less win the title, but there's so many other things to be settled. There's still the top four to be settled. There's still relegation to be settled. What about the teams in the Championship who might be able to come up? You know what I mean? So to me, the season should be completed. If we can possibly complete it, it should be completed. And then we just have to squash next season in. You know what I mean? It's nobody's fault, is it? I hear people moaning about it and that. It's nobody's fault. It's exceptional circumstances. It will never have to happen again, hopefully. But for now, this is the way we get it done. That's in my opinion.
I agree. I think that, you know, we're sort of hopefully going to be hitting in the next few weeks the point in this country where it starts to drop off. And I think, you know, a couple of weeks ago, it was almost a bit insensitive to say I'd love football to come back. But I'd love football to be back tomorrow, because I think what a lot of people are starting to realize now is you've got the death and the suffering from this virus, but there's also a lot of people suffering. You know, there's a lot of people suffering from the lockdown, and you know, football is for good. It's what we're doing on Saturday. Football fans is a good thing, and what's the thing that binds us? It's the football. So I'd love to see it come back. I did see something yesterday that I think some people took it as a joke, but actually I sort of thought of it from a serious point of view. And I don't think it's funny to laugh at it, obviously, because they're using the virus as part of the thing. But what they said is that, imagine we bring football back in June or July. We play 7 of the 9 games. Norwich realise they're going to be relegated, and suddenly a couple of Norwich players come down with the virus, and they're in quarantine. And it's like, I'm sure, if anyone from Norwich is listening, I'm sure you're not going to do it. But there is a serious point to that. You've got I said this last night as well, you've got so many people involved in football, even if it's not behind closed doors. And as you saw with Arteta, if he gets it, that's your previous opponents, that's your team, quarantine for maybe 2 weeks. That's never just 2 weeks, because you've got to stagger it if someone else gets it. It's really, I think the challenge is not can it come back in June or July, it's how you quarantine football to get it back. And this is not just for the summer, this is for next season and everything. There's a huge challenge to do it. It's
a massive challenge. I mean, how do you go back to the Emirates with 60,000 people in the stadium at the moment? You wouldn't, would you? If somebody said, all right, game back on this weekend, Arsenal versus Man United, there will only be about 10,000 people there, if that. Right? Those would be your diehards, because the thing is, everybody's going to be like, well, hold on, do I really want to be stood up with loads of fans right now? I'm not sure who's got it. So I think until there's mass testing introduced into the country and people get that confidence back, that, you know what I mean, they're walking amongst, you know, the vast, you know, members of the population who don't have it, I think until that happens, yeah, it probably will be behind closed doors. There's been suggestions, hasn't there, that maybe what they might do is, strategy one is to test all the players. And then when they test all the players now, there's been talk about maybe keeping them all locked down in one particular area. And then, but even that's difficult, because like you said, it's not just a team of 20 players. You've got all the people that go with that. You know what I mean? The people that cook their food, the whole of the medical team, that everybody that's got to go along with that for each team. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of people, and it'd be very difficult to, you'd have to have some sort of Olympic Village type, place to put them all. And like you said, and then all it takes is for 1 or 2 cases to break out, and we're back to square one again. So it's really difficult to see how things come back. I'm desperate to see it come back. But until there's testing, rolled out for everybody, I feel. And remember, at the moment, we're not even testing enough NHS people. Until that's rolled out, I can't see how we can start playing again. It's really sad. It's unbelievable how devastating this virus has been. But, lives have always got to come first, but football would be a great, if it did come back, it'd be a great tonic. I mean, I want to turn on my TV and watch something else apart from hearing about the coronavirus, even though how serious it is. And I know people are dying and it's a serious thing. Obviously, I know people who've died. It's terrible. But wouldn't it be nice to just turn your TV on and watch a game of football or some sort of sport or something else to take your mind off of it? And that could be the perfect tonic when we're starting to come out of it, to try and get people sort of moving back to normal again.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, I just reading that comment on the screen. Oh, it's changed actually. That we might not see football for a year. I mean, I was thinking about this last night, based on what you've just said there, and I can't get my head around that. But these are the challenges that everybody is facing with regards to that now, and I think I just hope that there is a find a way. But I think with a lot of these things, they can be changed very, very quickly. And as you said, if they start the testing and you start to have a safer environment, playing football behind closed doors and opening schools and coming off lockdown, they're all quite similar things in many ways. I know people would say, well, sport's not essential, but if you can start putting people on public transport, you can start playing football behind closed doors. So we'll just see what happens. Right, we're just going to talk about this because it's breaking. I'm sorry I had to keep looking at my phone there because I was just trying to find the source which somebody sent me. So this is coming from at Manu Longen, who works for Eurosport France. Manchester United is finalising the arrival of Aston Villa midfield Jack Grealish. I mean, I'm sure you get it with Arsenal, Robbie. I mean, I've actually quote tweeted him and said we're not there yet. And obviously I'll get ridiculed by United fans who just want to believe a Eurosport French journalist talking about a British Premier League player. As I said last night, I spoke to somebody about Sancho a couple of days ago, and they said, look, the deal's not done. United are at the front of the queue and they want the deal, but they can't do the deal at the moment. And they said about Grealish probably depends on Pogba leaving, and there's no deal to be done with Grealish because you don't know whether Villa are going to get relegated yet, which has a big impact on the price and what Villa will do. Grealish probably wants to come to United, and United don't know whether they need Grealish at the moment. So there's definitely not a deal to be done. But this is great to have you on because I'm sure you had it last night with Thomas Partey. You get these foreign journalists. I don't know whether they're doing it to bring clicks to their website or not, but what a French journalist has got. Just because he's got a blue tick, we're suddenly signing Grealish. It really is something you must go through as well.
We go through it all the time. What makes me laugh sometimes is some of the ones they've done about Aubameyang. And then Aubameyang's like come out and said, who told you that? I mean, when the players come out and sort of just shut them down. But, there's lots of rumours going around at the moment, basically, because a lot of people ain't got nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
So some of them are, I'm not saying this guy, I don't know, but some of these guys are making up rumours. Because I don't even know at the moment how you can negotiate a deal.
Technically, how do you do it?
Everybody, everybody's at a distance. Teams like you said don't even know what's happening with this season yet. You could get in contact with Villa and say, if Grealish is going, can we have first refusal? But apart from that, or his agent maybe. But apart from that, you can't do a deal for Grealish with the season not even finished yet. I can't. I'm not saying it can't get done, but where would he play anyway if he went to Man United? You've got Bruno Fernandes now. Where would Grealish play? Because he kind of plays sort of centrally in that number 10 role, doesn't he? So that would be a real strange one.
It'd be good for squad depth. It'd be good for squad depth, and it'd be good if Pogba went. But the way we play at the moment, it'd be a backup for Bruno. Like you're saying, you're going to spend 50, 60 million on that. I think it's dependent on Pogba.
50, 60 million in this current climate on a backup. I don't know about that. You know what I mean? I honestly, the money is... I'm going to be surprised if anybody splashes really big this season. I can see a lot of free transfers this season. Lots and lots of free deals, free transfers. That's more what I see happening this season than anything else. If we even get any transfers done at all. I mean, there will be some transfers because these people are going to be out of contract. And that's the other thing. I mean, how worrying must it be if you're a player coming towards the end of your contract right now? It's all right for us to be talking about all the big signings and this and that. But if you're a sort of player that, you know, you're not one of those headline players and your contract's running out in the summer, you must be worried as hell, because chances of finding another club is going to be very low. Or if you do sign for another club, the wages that you could have commanded last year, you ain't going to get that this year, you know. So it's mad times. It really is.
It is. We weren't going to talk about that. That's just literally come off when we're on air. So a French Eurosport journalist with a blue tick has said that United are finalising a deal for Grealish.
You're not having it, are you?
I'm not having it. I've never bloody heard of him, which may be my ignorance, but I have been doing transfer shows for 5 years. I've never heard of him. He's got a blue tick, and everyone's like, he must know more than people like James Cooper, who spoke about Grealish last night from Sky Sports. I spoke about it last night as well. We haven't finalised anything with Jack Grealish. It's a punt. It's a punt, and we do see people do that. They'll put 2 and 2 together. They'll write 4, and if they get it right, they're suddenly credible. And you've got another Fabrizio Romano on your hands. But
we've been linked with about 20 players already. You know,
you ain't got any money by the sounds. I'm not going to do that again. No. I'm not doing that again. I said that about Pepe last summer. They ain't got no money, and then
we're still paying the Pepe thing. That's the other thing. You know, I mean, remember that deal was sort of set up that we pay in installments, so we still got to pay that. We've got William Saliba we bought, who's coming in, you know, as well. So don't answer that one. That Robbie, your thoughts on, and then I'm not going to say what that is, who plays for Sociedad. Now, I got caught out with that the other day. Apparently, that's like an Indian Punjabi swear word.
They're
right?
bad. They are
bad.
I
got done with that one the other day, right? And then, like, I've been viral apparently in India with everybody laughing. But now I know that word now. I know that word.
Yeah, so they're getting us on the old words that we don't even know about now.
Trust me, no hope now. No hope.
Trent Singh. I mean, what's your thoughts on Harry Kane? Because obviously being a Spurs player, he's come out a few weeks ago on an interview like we're doing now with Jamie Redknapp, so basically saying, look, if Spurs don't fulfill my ambitions, I want to go. I mean, he's been linked to United. We've also heard that Real Madrid don't want him. I think Harry Kane's a good player, but I do think, in context of what you've just said there, I said it last night, that Harry Kane's a bit like Pogba and Mbappe. I'm sure a lot of people like them, but they're almost in a golden cage. They've got long contracts. They're very expensive. How do these players even think about leaving this summer? They're going to have to just sit and wait.
I think if it hadn't have been this summer, every Spurs fan would need to be nervous now, because it's obvious that Kane wants to go. If you listen to what he's saying, it's obvious now that he's saying, nah. He's looked at Spurs and he can see they're not going to spend. He can see they're not going to. They're going through what we've been through with the stadium, you know. So he obviously wants to go, but the amount of money that they're talking about for him, who's going to pay that right now? Nobody. Like you said, he's going to have to sit it out for at least a season, you know. And you know that Spurs, they drive a hard bargain already. But I think Spurs, you know, Daniel Levy, would love to get that money in, 200 million to go towards paying off a lot of the debt that they're going to have on the stadium. Obviously, they've lost loads of revenue. It's not just the football. Remember, they do all these American football. They had loads of concerts lined up over the summer and stuff like that. They had all these big plans there. And now that's all gone because of what's happened with this crisis. So them in particular, they've taken a huge hit. They're out the Champions League as well. So they're not going to earn mega money out of that. So I think they would definitely have moved him on. But who is going to be able to afford to buy a player for 200 million or at least 180 million. That's what he'd be command. I mean, his goal scoring record is unbelievable. So he's the England captain, but I think because of what's gone on, he won't leave. Maybe next season.
I agree on that. I just wanted to get your perspective as an Arsenal fan. Bringing it back to United, Paul Pogba. I saw Declan Rice today. I don't know why. I think probably did it on Instagram. Declan Rice at West Ham saying, I don't understand why Paul Pogba gets so much criticism. He's a fantastic player. And I just sort of thought, well, wind your neck in a bit. You're a West Ham midfielder. You've got no idea about the politics at Manchester United. But Paul Pogba, look, I like Pogba. I'm not as much as Rance. Rance would bloody have his kids, I think. But I do like Pogba. And as an Arsenal fan, look, I presume you take Pogba at Arsenal. I'm not saying he's going to go there. What's your perception of the Pogba problem with United? Is it agenda, or is he just has he brought it on himself, or what?
It seems like he don't want to be there for some reason. Ever since he sort of fell out with Mourinho. It seems like he doesn't want to be there. I think he's an absolutely top quality player. We saw that time when he's in the World Cup. Anytime we play you guys, if he like when we was playing you and he weren't playing, I was happy because he's quality. But I think the problem, I don't know what it is with you. I don't think you can put it down to focus because when he's on the pitch, he seems. I don't know what it is, man, with him. I just get the feeling that he just wants out. Because I just don't understand what's going on, the stuff with his agent and stuff like that. He never seems to, tell the agent to shut up so I can get on with my career. So that then gives you the impression that he's endorsing what his agent's doing. But he's a top quality player, but he's just going about. I think. Listen, there's ways of leaving a club, even if you want to leave. There's ways of leaving, and the way he's doing it at the moment, I just think, come on, man. Even as a guy on the outside looking in, I don't like to see those things. You know what I mean? I look on it and I say, come on, Pogba, man. You know what I mean? You was at United in there as a kid in their system. You know what I mean? You got to have a bit more respect for the fans there. But he obviously wants out. But again, will he get that move now? I noticed the other day he was saying that, he's wants to play and stuff like that. Maybe now because he realizes that he ain't going nowhere, because who's going to be able to afford to buy Pogba right now? So this is a bit of a leveler for a lot of footballers. Me and DT, we did a show about a month ago, and I said to him, the bubble is going to burst on football. All these big wages, all these players that just think, they can command these big fees and that. This thing is going to burst the bubble, and that's exactly what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, and also we live in an entertainment business. They've got agents. They've got a lot of people. If you're Paul Pogba and you realise you've got to stay at Manchester United for another year, you don't start moaning about wanting to go. Yeah. You suddenly start saying, I want to win the league here next year. But I think what we'll have with Pogba is I think he will stay, but I think all through next season, or when the next season starts, we'll start to get the rumblings again. Because I think everyone's just going to have to put their plans on hold. And we'll get Pogba for another year, but whether we'll get Pogba, the consistent player that we've never had, I don't know. I really would like to see. I think United are better with Pogba.
The most annoying thing as a fan is when you've got a player and the guy's top. It's the same with us at Ozil. So you've got a player and his qualities. You know how good he is. You see in flashes how good he is. And then he's so inconsistent, and it's so when they feel like it, it's so annoying. It's the worst, the worst thing. You know what I mean? If you got a player and you just know he's not good enough, that's one thing. You accept that. But when someone's got all the ability in the world and they're just wasting it, you just say, nah. It's very hard to accept, especially when they're on that big money.
Yeah, and I do think we're going to have that scenario. You might end up with it with Aubameyang as well, where players that maybe were looking at a move 2 months ago, they've suddenly, Pogba was probably coming into this summer thinking, I've got Real Madrid, I've got Juventus, and he's now probably been told, you ain't got nothing. You've got nobody. It's
the same thing I said about it. My argument with Aubameyang is just that. If he wants to go to Real Madrid, they're saying they're not selling Jovic, they're keeping hold of him. They've got Benzema. They've got, is it Vincenzo? They've got loads of players in that position. If he wants to go to Barcelona, things are tight now. They've got Luis Suarez, Messi, Ousmane Dembele. If you want, he can't go to Bayern because he played for Borussia Dortmund. But even if he did want to, they got Lewandowski. Even if he wanted to go back to Borussia Dortmund, they got Haaland. They got Sancho. If he wants to go to PSG, they got Mbappe. They got Mario Icardi. Inter Milan have got Lukaku. You know, so none of those top clubs. If he's saying, well, I want to go somewhere and win something, none of them really. You know, Liverpool don't need strikers. Manchester City don't need strikers. You really don't need strikers because you've even got Alexis still coming back and that. So where is he going to go? Where?
I think this is good for football.
You're at Arsenal. You're the captain of Arsenal. You're the second highest earner, I think, and whatever the new deal will probably put him still on that high earning category. So, is it wise if you're Aubameyang? I know you want to win things, and you know, I'm being honest, open and honest as an Arsenal fan now. We're nowhere near winning the league. So if you want to go and win things, I understand that. But where are you going to go? Where? When I named that, those are just some of them, you know, unless you want to go and win the league in Greece. But then you ain't going to get paid for it. That's the thing. So I think, you know, a lot of players who might have been on the move will be staying put because of what's been going on with the coronavirus crisis.
Do you think that, as a football fan, do you think that, and the live comments can get involved in that, do you think that that's a good thing for us football fans, that, as you said, and as what is happening with the Pogbas and the Harry Kanes and Aubameyangs and the Neymars and the Mbappes, people who probably thought, I'm going into the Euros, some of them going into the Euros, some of them looking for the move, I'm going to have a lot of people looking at me, there's loads of money in the game, I'm going to take my pick, screw United, screw Arsenal, screw PSG, and then suddenly they're like, there is nowhere to go. And it's a harsh reality, but is that good for us football fans, or is it not that?
You know, listen, obviously the coronavirus is absolutely terrible for football fans, players, everybody. Okay. But maybe the fact that, as I said, a bit of the bubbles burst on some of these players now, and they realise that they're going to have to stay put and they're going to have to work, you know, to build back up their reputation so that when those opportunities come back again, they're ready for those opportunities. I think it could be a good thing, because for a lot of times there has been that big bubble around these players, you know, and that's not always a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. There's a comment here from Football Challengers 123. He says, I think Arsenal will buy Upamecano and Partey this summer, and Man United will get Grealish and Sancho. I think he's playing FIFA, and I mean, I don't think you can do one of those deals by it sounds of it.
Buying him with the coins. You know what I mean? Because I'm telling you, I don't know where we're going to get the money. Listen, deals can be done this summer, but I think I'm not a United fan, but as regards Arsenal, I think it will mean that players will have to go out for those type of deals to happen. Have you got
any players that you could generate funds with, though? I mean, that's another point, isn't it? You know, we've got Alexis Sanchez, we've got Phil Jones, maybe even Lingard, players that we'd like to sell. If anybody's moving this summer, I don't think the mediocre players, people aren't going to want that. They're going to go for prime meat, aren't they? They're going to go for the dead cert sort of players. And you've got quite a bit of deadwood, but have you got people who can generate funds?
A lot of deadwood, but players that would generate funds are obviously Aubameyang, Lacazette as one has been spoken about as a possibility that Atletico Madrid have been interested. They reckon
they wanted him originally, didn't they? I think.
Yeah, Torreira in midfield. You know, Saka, obviously. I mean, Martinelli. These guys, but they're all the players that you don't want to lose. So, it's gonna be. I really just can't see none of these big deals happening at Arsenal. I think even last year, I mean, we did the big deal with, of course, we did the big deal with Torreira. Sorry, not Torreira, with Pepe. But apart from that, all the deals are small deals or they're on loan. So I can see a lot more loan deals ready for Arsenal this season.
Here's a good question from Ajmal. He says, I've got a question for you both. If we were still in the 90s and early noughties, how would the rivalry be between the two channels, considering how intense it was? We wouldn't be sat here talking like this, I don't. Well, we probably would be in the crisis because everyone's come together. Yeah. But I mean, that's for me, I'll let you answer, Robbie, but for me, that's the best era of the Premier League. It's the most fiercest rival. It was the closest rival. And I know what it was like between the managers and the players. There's no way we'd be going, oh, it would be proper. It would be on, wouldn't it? It would be really intense.
I don't think there's been a rivalry to match that. I mean, people are talking now about Liverpool and City, but I think our rivalry was much better. I think the teams were more evenly matched as well. And I think the contrast in the managers as well. You had Fergie, a bit more old school, and Scottish, really in your face, and he had Wenger, sort of the professor, and they were just opposites. And
Keenan Vieira,
I mean, there was just rivalries left, right, and centre. And for me, that was the greatest period. I'd love to see that come back. Both of us have fallen away since those days. Both of us coming under new ownership, American ownership, all right, has kind of set us both back, in my opinion. It was a brilliant rivalry. I'd love to see that rivalry come. I still think I would have come on your channel, and we would have come on our channel. There's still a lot of banter between us.
I think the fan cams after the game, after some of those United Arsenal games, would have been. Yeah. Imagine doing fan cams outside Villa Park after that. I don't know whether that would be. Or when you beat us at Old Trafford for the title as well. Yeah.
The thing is, though, it was never. It was never really a violent rivalry. I mean, because I remember going up to Old Trafford and stuff like that. It wasn't like I'm going to when you go to Tottenham or something like that, where you're be careful here, you're going to get. The rivalry was like people in your face because we're better than you, but it wasn't a violent rivalry. I think the rivalry was kind of in the right place, but it was intense. I used to have so many mates, United mates, man. I'll tell you, it's the one game you couldn't lose that game. Honestly, you had to go into hiding. That's what it was like. That game was deep. Nowadays, the rivalry's still there. I still get a lot of grief if we was to lose it, but it's not the same as what I mean. Those days, that game, you were so nervous when that game was on. You could hardly even enjoy it.
It is funny because I mean, look, Arsenal Fan TV, biggest fan channel in football with over 1 million subscribers. We're not doing too bad. I think we've got 600 and something. But
you're coming after us. You're coming for us.
But I look at the fan channel period, especially for Arsenal and United. Since you're a bit older than us in relation to your channel. We've not been blessed with that many. I mean, we've had a Europa League, an FA Cup, not really been in the Champions League that much. You think about that 20 years between certainly the late 90s to 2010 for both clubs. And YouTube wasn't around even then, so we couldn't have had fan channels. But if we had, some of the moments we would have had. I mean, I get excited thinking about. I mean, I'm not even talking about 99, even 08. I mean, it's just beating you 8-2.
Yeah, I need to mention
I just think even just doing a watch. I mean, watching this. Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we both are very passionate about what we do, and I would love to see it come back because I do think we've had such great history between us, but we haven't had it recently, and yet we've been running these channels and they've been doing really well, and people love it. How great would it be to have what we had in the past now? I mean, I'm a bit jealous of the likes of not Man City. They haven't got a fan channel. They've got no fans. But Liverpool, Red Men, they've had some great success, and it must be great to live that through a fan channel because we live the bad times too much.
I was chatting to those guys the other day, man, and they just said that they can't believe what's going on at Liverpool at the moment. I remember Liverpool were in more of a mess than both of us.
Yeah.
It's possible to come through these periods, you know what I mean? But I'm not stopping
doing United stand till we actually win a bloody title. So I might be in a coffin first, but
Well, I'll tell you what, man. We're so far off at the moment. It worries me, and I'm just like, we've got to, I'm not sure this owner. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what our owner does because he's going to be financially. I mean, he's a multi-billionaire. But he's going to be in a lot of trouble after this because he's building a new stadium for the LA Rams in America. Most expensive stadium in the world, worth reportedly $5 billion. and he's
going
got
to lose a lot of money then, isn't he?
I mean, it must be a nightmare for him. So could he think to himself, should I sell it on? I mean, I don't know. He's probably not. But, and then, as well, I did a live show this morning on my channel, and I was putting this scenario out there. Everybody needs to start getting worried now, because when back in those times with that rivalry, it was sort of us and you guys, and a couple of, Liverpool was sort of hovering around, and that. Now look how many clubs have got big money.
Well,
We're hearing about Newcastle now on the verge of getting Saudi owners. Now Saudi owners, they come with a different breed of money, right? The coronavirus doesn't affect their money, you know what I mean? Right? Now, if they take over, Newcastle is already one of the best supported clubs in the country. They've got a brilliant fan base. They've got the stadiums there already. They get Saudis in charge of them. You got Everton, who've got billionaires, who, by the way, those billionaires used to be at Arsenal. And, Stan Kroenke refused to let them buy into the club. They left, and now they're at Everton. They've got loads of money. They're going to be building a new stadium. You're going to have about 7, 8 clubs with a lot of money, after this crisis. Winning the league is getting harder and harder and harder. It's going to get harder. So
it makes it better. It makes it a better league, doesn't it? But it makes it harder for Arsenal and United, who have that history, because I think we do, both as fans and our fan base do, we cling on to that as sort of some divine right that we will win the title in the next 5 years. And I've become quite tired of that. People say, when are we going to win the league, Mark? And I'm like, I don't know, because so much of it depends on external factors and how our owners run this club. We could win it in 5 years, but
yeah. And if you've got basically teams that have got a lot of money, they can go and buy quality. As you've seen with teams like Wolves, so those teams are no longer pushovers. I remember the last time Wolves were in the Premier League, they were everyone's beating stick. Now, you playing Wolves, very tough game. Leicester, very tough game. You know what I mean? So to win the league now, you've got to really have a really good team. You've got to have everything right. And if you haven't, you've got no chance of winning it. So, this is it's going to be interesting over the next few years, but it's so difficult to win the league. So difficult.
Acelero says, "You're like Aguero, Mark. You're not leaving Man City until they win the Champions League, and you're not leaving the United stand until we win the league." Well, I just want to have good times. I think we just had so many bad times, and that's what being a fan's all about. And, we're not going anywhere because it's bad, but I would like to have some of the, some of what Liverpool have got. And I do feel greedy because we've had so many good times, and I shouldn't really, if we never win the league again, I've always got what happened in the past. But just for the channel, because of what's happened with fan channels, I think it'd be great to have some success with United.
No, it'd be for us, it would be amazing to just have, even to challenge for the thing that upsets me at Arsenal is that we're not challenging at the moment. We should be, at the very least, challenging to win the league, not necessarily win it, but challenging. And I think we're only a few players away from doing that, but we just fall short all the time.
So what have you won in the Arsenal Fan TV career? What have Arsenal won? Because off the top of my head, for United, we've won an FA Cup, a Carabao Cup, and a Europa League. And we started in the Van Gaal era. We started, so I think I'm right. I'm not claiming Community Shields. I'll leave that to Mourinho to claim them. But
we've won 3 FA Cups.
Yeah, so it's 3-3 then, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, so we've won 3 FA Cups, and we got to the Europa League final last year. We've had some little nearly moments. We got to the final of that. The year before that, we got to the semi-final. So, but it's 3 FA Cups, and for a team like Arsenal, and we've been going now for on AFTV was 7 years.
Yeah,
we should be winning more than that, really. So, but those FA Cup moments, they were great. Because we are, at least we won something. And I'd take the FA Cup this season because, it's not been a great season. I'd take it for sure. But for a club like Arsenal, we need to be, I remember everyone used to laugh at us because we was talking about getting in the top 4. Now we definitely take that. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
That's been a massive for Arsenal.
That's interesting. That is. So you've had 3 trophies, and we've had 3 trophies in the time we've been running the channels. Ours are obviously better because we won the Europa League, but 3 FA Cups.
Is the Europa League that much better?
Not,
I mean,
the
Europa League's better because you get that. I think the Europa League is the worst cup competition. And this is not sour grapes because we lost the final. It's the worst cup competition in the whole world, because I've never known a competition where you can have teams that come third, not even runners up, come third in a group stage, and then they drop into another competition. To me, that devalues that competition. The competition is useless. The only thing now why people want to win it is because of that Champions League place. They did that because basically nobody would have bothered with it. Well, none of the English leagues teams, none of the sort of, Italian league teams and that. It's now that Champions League place. That's all people are playing for. But the competition itself, I mean, you have this year, teams that have finished third, and then you then have the team that finished second, they go into the knockout stage in the Champions League. They get knocked out. But then a team that came behind them in the group stage can go all the way to win the final and qualify for the Champions League. It's the worst competition. How they work that out, I just can never get my head around. It's only about money. And
it's great if you win it. As somebody who's won it, it's great if you win it. I loved winning it.
I think only because of the reason people are interested in winning that is because of that Champions League place. If you would have won that and it had the Champions League place attached, you probably wouldn't even you wouldn't even be referring to it now.
No, I remember the UEFA Cup. It's still a good tournament to win, but I think the Champions League adds a lot to it. I would agree with that. And I was playing on my bloody FIFA career mode yesterday, and I got knocked out by Bayern Munich in the first round of the knockout of the Champions League. As you will know, that happens to Arsenal a lot. And then later in the season, I was looking at the Europa League, and the team who'd come third in my group was in the bloody final. And I'm like, I've been out of Europe since March. It's a bloody joke. So.
Exactly. And not only that team can go on and make more money, because if you go all the way to win the final, it's quite lucrative. So how can that make? Tell me another sport where something like that happens. It is absolutely terrible. That competition. That's why I don't even like being in it.
Well, you're not.
Sometimes I look at it, I think I'd rather not even be in it.
Which you're not now.
Yeah, all right. We're not in it.
I'll bring people back to where we were at the start, just so everyone can keep it in their mind, because there is a link in the video description if you want to get on to Football Fans for the NHS. This is our 24-hour stream starting on midday on Saturday on the AFTV channel, and every 3 hours it will change. So it'll go AFTV till 3. Then it'll come to us, then it'll go back AFTV at 6 o'clock, then back to us at 9 o'clock. We know the 9 o'clock show is going to be AFTV versus United Stand as a quiz. The rest of it still needs to be filled out, but get involved in it on Saturday. Football Fans together for the NHS through AFTV and the United Stand, and loads of other channels and people who are going to get involved in it. So really, 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 really looking forward to that for a massively important cause. Robbie.
Ricky. Ricky.
We've got a fan camera called Ricky, you see. He's been on a bit recently. But thanks for coming on, Robbie. And if there's any final bits you want to say about that.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, listen, everybody get along and support that. As Mark said, we're both teaming up along with loads of other channels here from loads of different football teams. It's all about raising money for the NHS. These guys, the NHS at the moment, they're like the army. They're like, there's a war going on and they're on the front line fighting it, right? So we got to support these guys, and they're doing such a great job. And I'm only hoping as well, when this thing's over, all these politicians and that are saying, oh, wow, great NHS, that they decide to really reward these people properly, because they do get paid crap money. Let's remember that, right? We're talking about the money that footballers get. Let's hope they get rewarded properly after this, and it's not just talk. But we're going to be trying to do our bit for it come this weekend, and we'd love your support. Everything we earn over the weekend is going to go on that 24 hours is going to go to the NHS. So please come along and get involved. And Mark, thanks for having me on today.
No worries, Robbie. And everybody, look, I don't know how much we're going to raise on Saturday, but I want it to be massive, because I think, as Robbie says there, it's these people are, heroes without the capes, and they're saving lives, and they've had it hard in our country for a long time. They've been the suppressed, and now where's all the bankers and the footballers and everything now? I know they're contributing, but it's the people on the front line. It's not about chucking a bit of money at it, which is why we're doing what we're doing on Saturday, raising money for our fantastic National Health Service. So get involved with that. On Saturday, we'll be seeing Robbie on this channel, and I'll be on there, and Flex and everybody else. So really looking forward to it. But thanks, Robbie, for coming on, and I'll see everyone at 8 o'clock.
By the way, it's Ricky.
Ricky.